Captain Paul from the locker room with my co-host Fajardo. What is going on there, Fajardo?
I am good, my brother. How are you doing?
I'm pretty good. Did I point the right way? Yes, I did. Didn't even have to think about it, folks. So, I've been doing season previews by myself as a lonely man, which, hey, it stinks. But I'm finally joined by my co-host Fajardo. He's, done being a manager and finally starting to go full-time locker room, I guess. Now,
yes, sir.
We're going to be talking about the Seattle Kraken. Will the Seattle Kraken be able to go even further in the playoffs? Are they going to be back in the playoffs this upcoming season? Mm-hmm. I mean, they had a really good run, surprised a few people, right? Let's say what it is, right? They beat Colorado in the first round. Not many people saw that coming. And honestly, it's kind of a good story. I mean, I know we're kind of used to the Vegas Golden Knights, like first year going to the Stanley Cup Finals. But for a team in its second year in the expansion to be in the playoffs and go, into the second round, that's pretty damn good.
Yeah, I mean, well, to be honest and fair, right? A lot of people, sort of expected something on their first year because of Ron Francis, right? We saw what he did with Carolina, how he built that team from the ground up. It took a while, right? But obviously with the way that the expansion draft works now, it was probably like 10 times easier compared to when he had to put the Carolina Hurricanes together, right? Yeah. So you figured that maybe it would work. And I think last year you got some glimpses of a real rugged blue-collar team that had potential to do more, right? Mm. And nobody was disappointed because if you ever watched their games in their first year, they didn't disappoint because their fight just went throughout the whole game, right? But you knew that the Ron Francis magic was on its way somewhere, and I think that last season we got to see some of that magic happen.
Absolutely.
And that was the surprise. It was like, oh, okay, it came a lot quicker than we really expected it, because you figured maybe 3 to 4 years, some of the younger players that they got would start, making some moves. But I just think as a team, they grew and molded each other to the point where, they kind of just, took it to that next level without even looking. It just happened.
Yeah, and it was a really fun ride. I'm not gonna lie. I love underdog stories. I did.
100%.
I love it. And Seattle, y'all, I love your fan base. I love sure. Seattle's fan base for every sport. It's just insane. So, Seattle Kraken going into the cap friendly. They have 943,000 available in cap, which is surprising for a team in its third year of existence. But Ron Francis, general manager, head coach Dave Hackstall. Let's go right into it. Oh, actually, let's mention the draft picks there.
Yes.
This is the key thing here, because we actually talked about this off camera.
Yeah.
Seattle's also going to be able to have all these draft picks and keep building. They have a couple third rounds this season. They have a first, second round. Like they're going to be in a situation where they should be competitive for a long time if they draft correctly.
I agree. I like the fact that they didn't lose draft picks; they actually gained draft picks.
Absolutely.
And with someone like Ron Francis, who has a pretty good eye for talent, and then the team that he's put together, I think that it's going to be one of those things. Now, the Shane Wright thing was the one that everybody was kind of questionable, but all the other draft picks that they had, everybody was okay with. They look like they'll transition in the timely fashion that everybody has projected at this point. And you look at their team and you're like, they have a good team. They fight, and then you have guys that are gonna eventually come up to organization, hopefully fill in the holes as some of the guys that are on the NHL roster start weeding out because of age and things like that, and contract negotiations. Some of the younger guys that they have, I think, are going to start just sliding right into the slots, and they won't really have to look too far. They could just look at their homegrown players.
Absolutely. I mean, and let's go right into the forward group. Matty Beniers. Yep. He's developed into a fine center. Only 20 years old. 80 games played last season, 24 goals, 33 assists for 57 points. You're expecting him to take another step. I think, defensively, offensively, he has all the tools you want in a number one center. And him being only 20, I do envision Beniers taking that next step. McCann had 40 goals last season in 79 games played, 70 points. And Jordan Eberle, 82 games played, 63 points. And Eberle can be, he's a solid top 6 option, but this first line, while I wouldn't say is the number 1 top line in the NHL, but it's probably, I would fair to say, around middle of the pack, somewhere around that. Yeah. Because, and it also depends, like, with how well Beniers does and how much more he develops, you got some really good lethal potential on that line.
Yeah, well, I mean, Eberle has proven time and time again, don't sleep on him, right? Because he did it when he was on the Islanders. You know what I mean? Like, he just finds a way. I don't even, like, it isn't a particular style. Like, he changes his the way he plays, you know, from game to game. Sometimes he's a little physical. Sometimes he's a little bit elusive. And he doesn't have the greatest speed, but it's elusive speed, right? Because you think you have him, and then boom, next thing you know, you missed. And then he's getting a shot, and your goalie thinks he's going left, and he shoots right, and there you go. You know what I mean?
Eberle's a solid player. I liked him since the Oilers days. I thought he was solid. A little bit much maligned, I think, because of... I think he was actually taken relatively high, thinking back on it. It doesn't show that on here. But, you know, I think Eberle's been a solid player in the league for a long time. Went for the Oilers, the Islanders, he did well. And I think in Seattle, he's found himself a nice role. He
was drafted in the first round, 22nd overall.
That's what it was. Okay. Yep.
At 19.
So, I mean, hey, good first line there. Second line, Borowski. Big thing for him is, can he play a full 82? I mean, if you look at his points per game average, 49 games played, 13 goals, 26 assists for 39 points.
It's nice.
That's first line type caliber.
Yeah.
So you need him to be healthy, right? They currently still have him designated as being week to week, which it's been week to weeks by now, so he should be fine. I'm hoping for the start of the season. But Borowski, Wenberg, 38 points, 82 games played, and then you got Schwartz with 40 and 71 games played. Now, this is cat friendly. This isn't probably the perfect way how these lines are going to be shaken out, but all things considered, when looking on time of ice, this is most likely going to be somewhat what it's around. This is a solid second line. It's nothing crazy. Now, Borowski can change that dynamic for me if he's healthy in the full 82, or at least plays 70 games. But for this second line, for me, it's about average, an average second line. What's your thoughts?
Well, all right. So I know I'm skipping ahead a little bit here. We haven't discussed that third line that's here on Cap Friendly. But if you look at the top 9, right, all the pieces are kind of interchangeable. And on top of that, if you look at their numbers, everybody's above 30. Everybody. There's not one person who's under 30, which means that at any point in time, any one of these lines are going to just come at your neck and just try to take you out, right? So, I mean, for them, that's a blessing, because a lot of teams, I mean, we've discussed this plenty of times with some of the, you know, quote-unquote top-tier teams. They have 1 or 2 good lines, and then it's like a giant just drop-off, like where, like, you know, you go from 30, 40, you know, 60, 100 in some cases, to... hey, this guy just got like 20 goals and that's okay, and you know.
I mean, we talked about the Carolina Hurricanes with Ron Francis and stuff like that. I mean, you know, this is sort of like the Carolina Hurricanes in that aspect, where offensively you have a lot of interchangeable pieces, and no worries, you can jump ahead. I mean, I think the top 9, I'd agree, very interchangeable. Couple players that are a little bit better than others, but yeah, I mean, you have guys with 30 plus scoring. You have multiple guys with 40 points.
Yeah.
Seattle's got good depth scoring, which you need to succeed if you don't have a quote-unquote superstar.
Yeah.
You know, 100%. Beniers, I think, can develop into a star. I mean, we're going to see how things go with their other young players. And speaking of their other young players, let's talk about this fourth line they have currently slotted in. Shane Wright.
That's going to be...
That's going to be the interesting thing here, because right now
I'm excited. I'm not even going to lie to you. See the smile? Like, I am excited because, you know, there was a lot of hoopla for the beginning of last season. Oh, you know, is he going to be able to make the team and all that? And then we even covered about his personality, right? Because he had that personality of like, you know, oh, I'm the ish, right? And we said that he's probably going to have to, you know, spend a year down in the minors or in juniors, kind of just like, checking his ego and figuring out the game, and probably learning, you know, how to be part of a team, like for real. Not just that you're a superstar, but really be part of a team, because that's what Ron Francis has built. He builds teams. He doesn't build a superstar. He builds really good, solid teams. And to have someone like this who has a potential to be a superstar and having to learn how to change that, just, that attitude, and not in a bad way, but change it in a way where it encompasses everyone around them to elevate to that next level. I mean, I'm kind of really excited to see how this. I may actually go to a game, to be honest, over in Seattle, to see how this work, all plays out.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, when it kind of comes to, like, let's say it's Wright, Tanev, and Yamamoto, that's a good fourth line in the aspect they have some good offensive potential. Yeah. Now, I'm going to talk about it because I'm not going to run from it. I didn't think Seattle handled Wright necessarily the best way last year. They got held on to him, sat him for a lot of games. Only played 8 games, only had 2 points, 1 goal, 1 assist, right? And then they sent him for a conditioning stint down to the AHL, where down in the AHL, I'm going to look at it right now just so I can definitely make sure I'm right here. In 8 games played, he had 4 goals, 2 assists for 6 points, which is, pretty decent for a kid that's 18.
Yeah.
I think Shane Wright has a lot of potential. People want to write him off already. Like, oh, well, he was taken really high in this draft, right? 4th overall. That was just last year. Let the kid develop at the NHL level. Let him develop at the AHL level. So he went back to juniors, did pretty well in juniors. Right now, they're not sure if he's going to make the NHL club out of camp, but I'm going to just say it. I think it might be a good thing for him to go down to Coachella and just learn and just play against men, because the AHL is a far higher level of competition than juniors. Yes, there's probably some players in juniors, top-end talent, that are better than some AHL players, but in totality, overall, the AHL has far more talent. So you need Shane Wright to kind of get adjusted. Some people want to write him off completely, but the kid's young. And, hey, he comes into camp hungry, wanting it, and with the right attitude. It's going to be the best thing that happens. This is going to be the best thing that happens for the Kraken, right? Because then you have 2 young centers who Shane Wright, I think we both believe, still has top 6 potential.
100%. I definitely think he has the potential. I mean, first of all, he's got the frame, right? 6'1", 199. He's right-handed, which, I've noticed a lot lately that it's a little bit harder to find a right-handed center than it is to find a left-handed center. It's predominantly left-handed nowadays. But I just think that with the big frame, and then playing with somebody like Yamamoto, who kind of came into his own last season, which is probably why Edmonton was not going to be able to afford to re-sign him, and why he ended up on this team. I just think it's like if he can get on the roster, this is like the right chemistry there. Then you have the right chemistry. Got me right. So, and then you have Tanev, who, I mean, let's face it, my man looks like a psycho, right?
I love that though. My man's crazy.
Yeah. But he brings that fire every single time. And if you have him leading these 2 young players, right, on the ice, on the character building side of things, right, it's just gonna work really well, in my opinion. I think it's gonna inflame that fire in them to have that intensity with their skill, and it's just gonna be crazy if they can just make that click.
So for me, with the Seattle Kraken, I look at their offense probably around the 15 to 20 range in the NHL. Maybe around that. Could be better, depending on Borowski and maybe Wright, or some people taking better. But they're kind of average to me. It's an average NHL offense. Nothing that's going to wow you, but they're still going to score goals. They got good secondary scoring. And for this team to succeed, they're going to have all of their lines contribute. That's how they're going to succeed at this level. Where some teams kind of get away with having a mediocre 3rd or 4th line dude having a superstar, they don't have, I would say, that luxury. So, I mean, that's my thought on their offensive output. What are you thinking?
Well, yeah, I mean, their 3rd line, right, which we really didn't go over in depth like we went with the other lines. Borgstrand, I think he has a lot more to offer. He's one of those guys that just kind of catches your eye when he's on the ice. He just finds himself in the right places, creating the right pressure. So he's one of those guys that, to keep an eye out for, because he can definitely jump up into one of the top 2 lines and be a difference maker. Obviously, Yanni, you already know what you're going to get from him. Hard-nosed player. He's just going to keep coming at you. And then
Tolvanen, actually, too, to be fair to him.
Yeah.
he had a good point per game clip with 31 and 61. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's a solid offense.
And it's a good balance between age.
Yeah.
You know, you have some young players and more veteran players on each line, and it's just like the right mix for the whole thing.
Absolutely. So I think, a pretty solid offense. And let's go right into their defense here. You got Vince Dunn, Adam Larson. Quality defenders. Dunn's got 64 points. Good point production from the point. Larson had 33. Alexiak, I said it right. 25 points, 75 games played. Yeah, slow clap, please. Borgen, 20 points, 82 games played. And Dumoulin and Schultz, quality defenders, 34 points, on the back end. Now, obviously, you don't judge defensemen by their point production, but I have to mention.
Are you sure?
But I have to mention. The Norris is like that these days.
Yeah.
But all defensemen with 20+ points, that's good. That means you're getting some point production on the back end.
Yep.
And I think defensively, there's nobody here that's terrible.
Yeah.
Like, they're very quality NHL depth. Is there a guy here that's like Norris candidate? No, but they have a bunch of like above average defensemen in my opinion.
Well, I mean, as far as their defense, I just want to say the draft team for Seattle, when they did their expansion draft, I think did an incredible job because these guys were key players that went under the radar. You know what I mean? Dunn, Larson, I think you knew that they had potential to reach another gear, but they weren't getting that in their teams. And then, they make it here, and, I mean, you look at all, the top 4 are all from the expansion draft. They are all still on this team, and they are all crucial to their success, which means that the way that they drafted was very, very good. It was intelligent. And the picks that they brought in were just the right ones, right? Obviously, they picked up some free agents, Dumoulin here and Schultz, and I think you're bringing in some veterans that still have things left in the tank, have some juice left in the tank, and can be real crucial, especially if they end up getting paired with, like, let's say, the quote-unquote fourth line here, with the young kids and stuff like that. You have that experience in the back to kind of understand and know, what may happen here, what may happen there, because they've seen it all.
So the big question about this team, it's not the forwards, it's not the defense. Let's just call it what it is. It's the goaltending. Now, Grubauer did fantastic in the postseason. But I think we'd be remiss not to mention, in the regular season, 39 games played, 2.85 goals against average, 895 save percentage. That's just not good enough.
Yeah.
And Grubauer's got to carry. This is the same thing I said about the Florida Panthers about Bob. You need to be at least around a 910, 915 save percentage and then get into the postseason and get hot.
Yeah.
And then you have a goaltender right now, Joey Decor's on the roster, but then they have Drieger as well in the system that they got from Florida back in the day. I don't know if the goaltending is good enough. There's just question marks here. I think there's talent. Grubauer, when he's on his game, is one of the best goalies in the NHL, and I think at times last year Seattle defensively wasn't great in front of him. But I do question, will Grubauer be able to have a bounce back year, play like he did in the postseason, or is last year in the regular season really what Grubauer is now at this point? So, I mean, for me, it's just, I'm going to be fair. Grubauer has shown he can be a capable, even in the Vezina type discussion goaltender, right?
I definitely
average
think,
at best.
No, I agree with you. He definitely has the potential to definitely be, one of those guys in that conversation, right? But I think the consistency is where he's lacking, right? It's you got to find your game early in the season, and then you got to maintain your game throughout the season. Because sorry, Joey Decor, you're okay to let him rest a night or two, but you're not gonna carry the ship by yourself. That's not you. Sorry, right? You're a backup. Grubauer is gonna have to really, put his foot down on the gas pedal and just like go the whole season. And unfortunately, he doesn't really have backup at the moment.
I mean, some envision Drieger as being able to bounce back and maybe be that guy. I mean, they got him when he was with the Panthers. He had a good season. But Grubauer's getting paid $5.9 million. He's got to play better than that. He's just got to. He's the guy. He's the one who's getting that contract, and he needs to perform like such. You know, if Grubauer has a sub 900 save percentage, I'm not sure if Seattle makes the playoffs again.
Yeah,
that's very difficult.
I mean, the only other person who might even remotely still have something left in the tank to be a better backup might be Callum Booth, who had a actual really good season down in Coachella last season. He had like a 1.84 goals against average. Save percentage was .950. Obviously, they're higher than your average AHL player, but you would hope that it might be able to translate to a decent backup to help Grubauer a little bit more than what Joey did last season.
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of one of those things, man. Just, you know.
And he didn't play much, but I think
he's been playing at the ECHL level more.
Yeah.
And it's just like, for me, when I look at this roster, I going into the AHL roster, I don't think there's a guy there that's...
No. Outside of that, no. I think maybe if you catch these guys like on a hot streak, maybe rotate them in and out, but that's about it. You don't really have any notable names when it comes to like goaltenders in your...
Drieger's the only one. He's the only one that played in the AHL up and down. The only one that has the pedigree of being successful at the NHL level and be able to... I mean, maybe Joey Decor, maybe he shocks us, right? Maybe he really kind of comes into his own. He's a Boston boy, so I'm rooting for him. But come on. Like, it's a lot to ask for.
Yeah. Oh.
Now, speaking about, you know, because you went there, let's talk about the Coachella Valley Firebirds.
Hey.
Ty Carte, who we kind of omitted, I guess, off the Cap Friendly now looking at it. I think he'll be up on the big club as well. That'll be some good addition. He looked really good in the postseason, the Seattle Kraken. So some people probably already commented, like, you forgot Ty Carte, you forgot the guy. I mean, to fair, yeah. But I think Ty Carte would actually add a nice additional depth on the wing. I think he has a good shot to make the team out of camp. Max McCormick, looking at him, he's around, my age, around 31 years old. I think he's probably just a very good AHLer. Cole Lind, he's mid-20s, it looks like, late 20s. He had a solid AHL year. Like, some of these guys can maybe push for like a fourth line role. But I think pretty much what you see on Cat Friendly is going to be the players up with the big club.
Yeah.
Looking at like some of the draft picks that they made this past season, like they drafted Sale, left wing, 20th overall. He's most likely just going to be down there.
Be down in Coachella and, getting his feet wet.
Yeah, that's pretty much where I see it. I think when it kind of comes down to it is, when I look at the Seattle Kraken, it's a very good roster, very good team. Even looking up front, I think Ty Carte, he played great in the postseason, so they're going to have some additional scoring depth.
Yeah. I just think it's one of those teams that don't take your eyes off of them. Don't sleep on this team. This is one of those teams that's definitely going to just catch you sleeping if you're not paying attention. And they're going to squeak their way into the playoffs, and we all know once you get into the playoffs, it's anybody's game. Doesn't matter where you end up at, but you can probably take somebody out or make it as deep as the Stanley Cup Finals.
Absolutely. I mean, like looking at the wild card last year, right?
Yeah. They
got in 100 points, finished 7 above Calgary, so they were, pretty well in there. They had a good season. I could see them back in the postseason. I could, because I like looking at some of these teams. I think they're better than. And some of the teams that have made some really high draft picks, they're going to need some time. So I think they're definitely going to be a wild card team. Now, if I was going to have to make a discussion like in their division, which, let's be fair, is a pretty pretty solid division with the Vegas Golden Knights and Edmonton Oilers, even the LA Kings. Could I see them? Could I see them maybe going above the LA Kings? Possibly.
I mean, in all fairness, if you take all the teams, right, and you put them just by points, they were literally the 12th overall team in the NHL last year.
Right.
I mean, they were over Tampa, they were over Winnipeg, they were over the Islanders, right? Like you said, they were over Calgary, they were over some of the other teams. So it wasn't like they were dead last.
No, they were a very solid team. I think nobody's going to take that from them. My big discussion is: do you think they're going to finish in the top 3 in that division?
Whew. Well, that one. Let me see.
Because I'll just say this, right? And we haven't done them yet. We'll be doing them soon. The Kings, excuse me. I have some questions about their goaltending with Talbot and Copley. I don't know.
Listen, I gave up on trying to figure out the Kings because last year, we said they weren't making playoffs. Last year, we said they were going to be at the bottom of the division. They were not even going to sniff playoffs. And they almost advanced. They almost did it. You know what I mean?
Oilers, yeah.
You know what I mean? They almost took out the big boys, right, of the West, which are the Edmonton Oilers. Had they done that, I think they may have just because of their experience and the way that the team was built, have been a better matchup for Vegas than Edmonton was.
But I mean, I could see what you're saying. Byfield, Kopitar. Yeah, I mean, I could see what you're saying there. Probably a better
overall,
size matchup. Yeah, maybe.
You know what I mean?
Then my argument though is McDavid isn't on the Kings, so it's just like or Draisaitl. You know, it's like.
Well, you know, David the Ghost and Draisaitl the King. I get it. How you call it?
Jesus.
I mean, it happened. All right, listen. Obviously, we know freaking McDavid is amazing, right? But he struggles in the playoff. I think he's still finding his way in the playoffs. I don't think he's horrible, but I don't think he's at the level that he is during the season in the playoffs. I don't think he's hit that gear yet. Draisaitl's hit that gear. He was above and beyond, right? So it just comes down to like, you know, can these teams stay healthy? And what are they gonna do? Can the Seattle Kraken, you know, crack the top 4 here? Oh man, I honestly, yeah, they can. I think the top 4 might pretty much be the same thing, with the exception of maybe Calgary sneaking in, depending on how the Kings do. But San Jose is not doing much. Vancouver's not doing much. You know, they're still rebuilding large portions of their identity. So I don't think they're there just yet. Calgary, they kind of have an idea, and I think that this year they're going to look to like implement that a little bit more. You know, they kind of found a little bit of a groove a little bit late. You know, they were up there, but then, you know, it just didn't go their way. Ducks are young. They're still figuring out, like I said, a lot of things. But yeah, the top 4 here in the Pacific, I think it's pretty much going to be the same.
I'm saying top 3. And a quick note: McDavid had 20 points in 12 games played. I just want to push back a bit. It wasn't like he completely disappeared, but
okay. How many did he have in that last series?
I don't have that right in front of me. I'm just looking at the totality.
Yeah, neither did he. But we're not gonna go there.
No.
I gotta do it.
Top three. Yes,
you can't take all the hate. There's people that are gonna be out here hating anyway, right? So let them hate on me some.
Top 3, yes or no?
Yes, I say yes. I
agree.
I
think the Seattle Kraken will be in the top 3 in that division.
Yeah.
And they should be in a good spot to be competitive for a very long time.
Yes.
So, I'm Captain Paul. That is Fajardo. I had to make sure because we flipped it around, messing with the mojo. So messing with the mojo. But hey, I'd like to know your thoughts down below in the comment section.
Sure.
Right? Where do you think the Seattle Kraken will finish? Will it be a playoff team? Will they kind of have a season where they regress? Do you think Shane Wright will come into his own? Do you think Matty Beniers will score over a point per game pace? I'd love to know your thoughts.
Yeah.
Seattle Kraken fans are passionate, and I gotta love it. And will Ty Carte score 80 goals next season just to spite us for not initially mentioning him in the depth chart? I'd love to know that thought too.
Do it!
So, like I said, I'm Captain Paul. That's Fajardo. We'll see you in the next one.
Peace.
Peace. Oh, shit.